This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on ban on election rallies in this election season and impact. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Ashwini Srivastav, journalist.
While announcing the poll schedule for Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Manipur, Goa and Punjab on January 8, the Election Commission had taken an unprecedented step of banning public rallies, road shows and similar physical campaigning events till January 15. Reviewing its order on Saturday, the poll body had extended the ban till January 22. So as per the EC's directive, there will be no road shows, padiyatras, cycle, bike, vehicle rally and processions till 22nd January. Commission will then review the situation and issue further instructions accordingly. Ashok Tandon ji, how do you see this move by the Commission?
Election Commission had a very bad experience during the election in West Bengal, where there was a very large-scale defiance and violation of the Election Commission's guidelines, particularly relating to the COVID-19. Now, having learned a lesson from that, this time round, when as you said, 5 states are going to the poll, Election Commission has taken a stringent measures. Unprecedented word you use is the right word. And therefore, the guidelines which they issued first, and they reviewed the guidelines and revised the schedule on Saturday and extending the ban till 22nd of January. So having said that, unfortunate incidents have been happening since the Election Commission first announced these guidelines. We all know what happened on Friday, and the Commission has also taken cognizance of it. But again, even apart from violation of the guidelines by organizing rally, there have been reports of violation of the code even in the door-to-door campaigning. So if these violations continue, I'm afraid the Election Commission may face similar situation as it did during West Bengal. We all know, and need not to say, that Samajwadi Party has been given a show cause notice. The notice has been issued by the Election Commission. They have demanded till 5 p.m. on Sunday why it organized a public meeting at its Lucknow headquarters in violation of COVID-19 norms. And this notice referred to reports that around 2,000 supporters of the Samajwadi Party gathered the party office compound at Vikramadityam Marg in Lucknow on Friday, and it was in stark contravention of COVID-19 guidelines laid down by the Election Commission. So no, it's very strange that this public meeting was supposed to be a virtual rally. Party workers and supporters showed up in huge number. As I said, the police report says about 2,000 people, and FIR has also been lodged under Section 188, 269, 270, 341, 54, and 3 of the Indian Penal Code, and the relevant sections of the Epidemic Act against the Samajwadi Party. Should the Akhilesh Yadav-led outfield fail to respond to this notice within the stipulated time, Election Commission has said that action will be initiated. And there are indications that the Election Commission has already made it clear that no arbitrariness of political parties, leaders, workers, or the public will be tolerated during these elections. And now, if all these things continues, then I'm afraid that, and we have yet to see what kind of action the Election Commission will be contemplating against these violations. And as you said, the extension of the curbs on physical campaign, etc., has now been extended to 22nd of January. And I think they will still again review the situation. And as depending upon the prevalent situation, the Election Commission will take further action, whether to extend it further or relax. But a big concession, I think it is in view of the complaints and suggestions from smaller parties, that all of them are not equipped to organize virtual rallies and the social media platform. And now the Election Commission has given a window to all political parties that they can organize indoor meetings of maximum of 300 persons or 50% of the capacity of the hall or the prescribed limit set by State Disaster Management Authority. But this has been allowed as I will call it as a huge concession. But I do hope that even this concession will not be misused by political parties, That is again a question mark, because once the authorities gave some concession as of 300 people in this case, there are apprehensions that there may be violations because you can't make a head count every time. But as we understand, the responsibility has been left to the state administration and the collectors in particular to ensure strict compliance of the revised guidelines.
You mentioned last year's poll rally. Elections were held in 5 states, Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Union Territory of Puducherry. And the poll rallies last year around the same time massively contributed to rise in COVID-19 cases. Which eventually led to second wave of the deadly virus. Do you think the current move by the EC is a lesson learned from 2021? And also, sir, if we could recall, Madras High Court had remarked that murder charges should be imposed on Election Commission then. How do you see all this now?
As you very rightly said, the Election Commission apparently has learned lessons from what happened earlier. And that is exactly why the Election Commission this time round has now made it clear that in case any violation is reported, the Election Commission will cancel all rallies of a candidate or a party. Either the party or the candidate is found in violation of the COVID-19 guidelines and according to the tightened rule book, if in this case. So they have been repeatedly saying that the guidelines have been tightened, etc. But banning candidate or a political party from holding further, that means even if the indoor rally of 300 people is organized, they will have to seek permission of the district magistrates beforehand. And if any party or a candidate is found to be violating these guidelines, no further permission of having closed-door meeting of 300 people will also be given to them. I think that is one thing which the Election Commission has at least found some teeth in its enforcement of these guidelines. And we do hope, let me say one thing. India is a vibrant democracy. During the pandemic earlier, for the last 2 years, India has successfully held elections with huge participation and also observing all the COVID-19 precautions. And thanks to the Election Commission and the officials who conducted those elections. But now is a huge challenge because we are in the midst of a third wave. And therefore, the responsibility of enforcing these guidelines rests squarely with the political party. So rather than waiting for the collector and the district authorities or the state government machinery to monitor and then find them violating, it would be much better in the larger interest of democracy that these guidelines are adhered to by the political parties at all levels. You can't say that our workers were seen and found violating the rally. So therefore, I do hope that we have to set an example before the world that India, being world's largest democracy, can hold election even during pandemic in a very disciplined, without causing any kind of unnecessary hardship to the people. And strict guidelines have also been issued with respect of the poll conducting official about their vaccination, about their second dose, and similar expectations the nation would have from the political parties.
The Commission has listed out 16-point guidelines for campaigning as it banned nukkad sabhas, which are corner meetings on public roads and roundabouts, limited the number of persons allowed for door-to-door campaigning to 5, including the candidate, and prohibited victory processions after the counting on votes. These are some of the measures which were announced by the poll body on January 8. Now, various regional parties had urged the Election Commission to relax its norms on banning physical rallies, saying virtual rallies will help on the richer parties who have more resources to organize. How do you see their concern?
No, as I said earlier, their concern has already been addressed by the Election Commission as compared with the earlier guidelines which now have been revised till 22nd of January. This concession of holding indoor meetings of 300 people or 50% of the capacity of the hall or as permission granted by the state disaster management. So this will certainly take care of the concerns of smaller parties, no doubt about it. And I think this move has been welcomed by all. But again, the question remains, whether the political parties will strictly adhere to it. Because any violation, hopefully there will not be any violation. But if there is any violation, the Election Commission will be expected to take some stringent action. Another very significant move is that a night campaign curfew will remain in force, and it has now been from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. for the entire campaign period. Earlier it was from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the morning. Now that means the campaign curfew has been further advanced from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. That means even the indoor meetings cannot be held beyond 10 p.m. They will have to wind it up much before 8 p.m. So all these things, I do hope, will certainly help all political parties. There is no doubt about it. And the star campaigners number has been reduced from 40 to 30, and for the recognized national parties, and from 20 to 15 for unorganized parties. So there has been a broad consensus that the aim is to hold free and fair election in a peaceful manner.
Right.
But as I said, whenever there is an election in India, whether it is state assemblies or Lok Sabha, the developing world in particular, they look towards India as an example of emerging democracy. Even the developed countries, most democracies, they also sometimes wonder how could India, such a huge magnitude, who can hold peaceful elections during pandemic. And EVM machines also set an example for the entire world. I do hope that all political parties, irrespective of their status, whether they are state level parties or national parties, they would certainly not be oblivious of the fact that the elections are not just who forms the government in a particular state, but the question is of strengthening India's democratic traditions. India's parliamentary democracy has survived successfully, and that is one thing which I do hope political parties will never forget.
The Election Commission has recently also increased expenditure limit for the political parties' candidates. For assembly elections, the revised poll expenditure limit for candidates is rupees 40 lakh for big states, up from 28 lakh earlier. And candidates in smaller states can now spend a maximum of 28 lakh instead of 20 lakh earlier. How do you see this revision in expenditure limit, and would it come handy for regional parties or smaller parties to reach out to their probable voters or to people?
Certainly, the Election Commission has to be very realistic. The way campaigning is conducted and held, so the revision of the expenses is necessary. You can't stick to the earlier limit. And that has been a very welcome step also. But again, there have been violations of the expenditure, both at the level of the candidate as well as the parties also. Although they have to furnish affidavit about their poll expenses and all that, but I think it's a very welcome move. And all the political parties also, smaller or big, because candidates of any party will certainly expect the limit to be increased so that they can conduct their campaign at least smoothly. Therefore, this is one of the challenges which the Election Commission has been facing, violation of the expenditure limit. It certainly will help all political parties as well as the candidates also. So I think this is a very welcome move.
Hope political parties will follow the Election Commission guidelines in toto and thus help in checking the spread of COVID. We also expect that electors will exercise their franchise without fail and by following all COVID protocols. Thank you so much for joining us, Tandon sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on ban on election rallies in this election season and impact. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Ashwini Srivastav, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.